What is up, YouTube? This is Christian Professional Dad, and I'm back with another knife video, guys. I'm absolutely excited to be here, but I'm going to tell you this right now. This might be a knife video that cost me a few subscribers. I might lose a few, and I'm okay with that. Hopefully I don't, because we should all be able to share in opinions and be tolerant of each other's opinions, and if we disagree, then communicate and talk about it. And go back and forth like adults, like friends. We don't have to agree to get along. We don't have to agree to be friends. In fact, in the spirit of not agreeing, I don't know what your religion is. I don't care. You'll never hear me talk religion or politics. But today was Easter Sunday. And for anybody who celebrates Easter Sunday, I hope it was a fantastic day for you and your family. And you guys got together and you guys had an amazing day, amazing time, and enjoyed the people that you love. If you don't celebrate Easter Sunday and you celebrated another holiday or religion or whatever, I hope you had a fantastic Sunday and a weekend with your family and the people that you love. Regardless of what the religion or politics of any of you are, religion, color of your skin, nationality, what flag you stand under and salute, I don't care. I love you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I'm thankful to be in a community with all of you because you're fantastic. All right. I'm going to talk about something today, guys, that's going to be a little touchy. But before I do, I'm going to show you something. I say it all the time, that we're a community that should definitely support different types of knife and EDC communities. We have companies out there, knife makers and EDC apparel and gear companies, that make the very stuff that we like to buy and engage in and talk about and show off and share. And I mean, these companies are out here providing for us. They're literally marketing products, knives and gear for us. Their whole stick is supporting and providing and basically supplying our community. And they rely on us to keep them in business, to spread their word of mouth about how good they do as a company and about their products and different things like that. And I've said it many times. It is up to us to support these companies. Who is going to support EDC and knife companies if not the EDC and knife community? We should all support them in any way that we can. I say that because of this. I'm friends with someone on Instagram called Bare Bones Apparel. I met them on Instagram. I saw some of their stuff. I absolutely loved it. I reached out, said, hey, that's some cool stuff. I wanted to order some shirts and stuff off of them, and I got some stuff coming. And we started talking. Great guy, started a company, travels the world, and we started going back and forth. And I do have some apparel that's on its way. It should be here tomorrow or the next day. And I'm going to do giveaways with it. And then I'm going to find out what I like and don't. And I'm going to order some stuff for me and my boys. Speaking of which, I'll talk about merch in here in a minute. But also, he actually went above and beyond. And he sent me a couple really cool EDC chest bags here. Now I've got a ton of these bags, a ton of them. I've showed them in the videos before. I've got gray ones, black ones, green ones, tons of them. These are really good. These are excellent quality. Bare Bones Apparel. Again, I'm friends with him on Instagram. I will link his stuff. These have a lot of pockets. These would be great for EDC. You can use them as chest bags, as backpack bags. You can use them as whatever. Put your gear in, throw them in a vehicle. If you're somebody that likes to carry, if you know what I mean. If you don't want to carry, appendix or whatever, or side holster. If you want to carry in a bag like this, these would work really great. That's one of the reasons why I've got some of the bags that I've got, so that when I can't carry in other ways, I can carry that way. But they do have patches on them. I'm going to leave the patches on them. Bare Bones Apparel. The molly is great. The molly is really tight. It's got elasticity. It's not like a lot of cheap molly where it doesn't hold stuff for very long. And next thing you know, your knives and flashlights will start falling through because it doesn't have a lot of tension there. So far, everything I can tell about these, the zippers are high quality. You can tell that the zippers aren't going to wear out and give in on you. The stitching is all great and looks good. I don't know who he has making them for him, but overall, these look pretty daggone cool. And they're great price as well. But he sent me two, free of charge. He sent me a black one, and he sent me a camo one. And you guys know my policy. If it comes in donated to the channel, it's going back out to you guys. So I'm going to give these away in the next 2 lives. One is going to be given away this Tuesday. One will be given away next Tuesday. I would ask each and every one of you, whoever is on Instagram, Bear, B-E-A-R, Bones, B-O-N-E-S, Apparel, Bear Bones Apparel. Find them on Instagram. Check them out. They have some awesome shirts, hoodies, kind of like Under Armour shirts, except for their camo and their Bare Bones Apparel. He's got different designs, different camouflages. He's long sleeves, short sleeves. He's got a mask and the face and neck mask. What are those called? That's got the designs on them. I can't remember what they call them. He's got hats and different kinds of caps. He's got big duffel bags. He's got chest bags like this. He's got all different kinds of stuff. He's got some fantastic stuff. As a matter of fact, he just came back from overseas. I think, where was it he said? I think he said that, I think he said he was in, was it Myanmar? I can't remember where he said he was at. He was in some place that was beautiful. And he came back and he launched a new design for a shirt. I was actually joking with him. I was like, man, this needs to be a skin on Call of Duty. This is a cool pattern here that you got. So it looks really good. But check him out if you like camo stuff, camping clothes, EDC gear, prepper gear, military and tactical, law enforcement type stuff. This is right up your alley. He makes some awesome stuff, and it's priced extremely well. So again, Bare Bones Apparel. I'd ask everybody that's on Instagram to check him out, like him, give him a follow. You know, just see if he's got anything you like. He might not have anything that you like. It might be out of your price range. You might not think it's good quality. I don't know. I think it's fantastic. I think the prices are great. I've already ordered some stuff. I'm going to be giving it away, and I'm going to order some more. So I'm going to give this away as well. So thank you, Bare Bones Apparel, for this. And for all of my viewers, thank you. Some people are going to appreciate these. Before I move on to the topic, merch. I do have merch. I'm working with Surge. I will have an online store up and running here very soon. Nobody has to buy any merch or anything like that. I've just been asked a couple times and I didn't know anything about it. So I reached out and said, hey, can you make shirts, hoodies, and hats? And he's like, heck yeah, we got you. So and I'm going to do whatever I can to make it. I'm not trying to make no money off people on shirts. You know, it's just the way that it is. You know, I'd rather not make $1 on a shirt and you save $1 on a shirt if it was something you wanted to support the channel. So nobody has to check them out or anything like that, but if I link it and anybody is interested, there'll be hats, hoodies, and t-shirts. And I'm also trying to find a place that can make stickers and stuff like that. All right, so here's the deal. Here's what the topic of today is, but you probably already know from the thumbnail and from the title of the video. I have been hearing a lot of things since I started this channel 5.5 months ago about different blade stills. I've heard a lot of things that people have said, both positive and negative, about blade stills. I'm not talking about blade stills and how they have edge retention or their corrosion resistance or what their level of toughness is. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that at all. Because that stuff varies and it depends on a lot. And we do know that different blade stills have different levels of edge retention, corrosion resistance, toughness, and the Rockwell chart. We know that. It's expected. All stills are different. This is different things that I've heard about different blade stills along the way. Opinions. Well, let's just go ahead. I'm gonna run through and tell you some opinions, and then I'm going to start working my way back and tell you what I've realized and found out after research, but also my personal thoughts on all this stuff. I'm gonna start with Buck. I'm gonna start with Buck right here. And the reason I'm gonna start with Buck is because we all know that Buck uses 420 and 440. They use a lower end budget steel, stainless steel. But Buck, we got to remember, in 1902, Hoyt Buck designed at the age of 13 a heat treat process that they still use to this day. I mean, it's refined and perfected, but he created the heat treat process that they use to this day to heat treat blade steels and shovels and hoes and machetes and rakes and different things like that. Hoyt Buck did. There's a reason that Buck is so good at heat treating their blade steels. Now, a lot of people wish they do have different options to where you can get some premium versions of different knives and higher end blade steels, but across the board, for the most part, they're in 420 and 440. They're in budget, low end blade steels, but they do remarkably well in a really good process with those lower end steels. So they get a lot more out of them than some people get with 154 because they do such a good job with it. And not really 154, that might be a stretch right there. I'm just saying they do better with their blade steel than some people do with better blade steels because they know what they're doing and they're really good at it. But I one day showed a couple knives like this. This is the Infusion. And when I did, I was talking about what Buck can do with their lower end blade steels and why they do so well. And I do know that Buck, a lot of people wish that they would step up the game and they would kind of like join this century and come up and start using the higher end blade steels. But I almost think that Buck doesn't feel like they need to. I think that they sell enough knives. They do good enough with the blade steels that they have. They have enough of a following. But listen, if you don't keep up, you get moved out. And the people who have been following Buck for a long time are getting older, you know, and yes, there's still a lot of new Buck fans that are coming up and stuff, but I don't know if there's going to be enough to really keep up. So a lot of people wish that Buck would step up their game and start joining the other knives and using the more premium steels across the board, like on all models, not just certain ones. But that's not the point of this. I started showing this knife and other knives like this, talking about what they can do. And the first thing I heard in the comments was, no, you're wrong. That's American-made Buck knives. American-made Buck knives are pretty good, or all Buck knives made inside the U.S. they can heat treat really good with. They do a good job, but that's made out overseas. That's not made in America. They do terrible with their heat treat process overseas. Terrible. They're garbage. Okay. Now, I'm not saying he was wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying that was one of the theories and the opinions that I heard about Buck knives. I want to come back to this. This is the Microtech MSI. I love the Microtech MSI. I've talked about this knife 1,000,001 times. I've showed it. I've had it in 3 knife challenges. I love the MSI. It's one of my favorite EDC knives right now. It's snappy, fidgety. I like the ram lock. I like the apocalyptic blade shape and design, and the look. I just love the MSI all the way around. Bowler M390 blade steel. And what was the very first thing I started hearing in the comments? You understand, Chris, that Microtech's MSI is garbage. They heat treat it wrong. It's way too soft. Way too soft. It's nowhere near where it needs to be. They do not do a good job with their M390. All about heat treat. All about the process. It's way, way, way too soft. Okay, not saying you're wrong. I heard it from a few people. I'm going to come back to that. Remember that. This is the Chris Reeves Sebenza, small Sebenza 31. Now, I know what you're saying. Whoa, Chris. I will not be hearing anybody say that there's a bad reputation about Sebenzas, because those things are awesome and everybody knows it. Well, yeah, that is for the most part true. But if you do a little bit of research, you will find out that there's a huge part of the people out there that's talked about it on Reddit and different things like that, that have bashed Chris Reeves for the way that he uses MagnaCut on these knives and the other steels that he used before he started using MagnaCut. About the way that he heat treated them, about the level of hardness, about the Rockwell chart. He was making them way too soft, different things like that. They was beating it up pretty hard. Now, apparently Chris Reeves, because of the backlash and the flack, he's changed it up a little bit, but not much. I'm going to come back to that. Yesterday, or the day before, somebody was in the comment section and they was talking to me about Lion Steel Mito, because I love the Mito. If you guys have watched any of my videos, you know that. I'm a huge fan, massive fan of the Mito. I'm a massive fan of Lion Steel, period. I love Lion Steel. I think that they're great. And they asked me, they said, hey, I was thinking about getting a Lion Steel, but there's a lot of flack out there about Lion Steel's M390, that it's soft, it's chippy, it snaps in half, it breaks, different stuff like that. I don't know what I should do. What do you think? All right. And that is something I've heard many times when I've talked about this right here, the T5. Oh, well, that's the Lion Steel's M390. That's terrible. You go out chopping with that and it's going to snap in half on you. They heat treat that. The heat treat is way too low. It's too soft. It's not where it should be. All right. We'll come back to that. This is the Tops Baja 4.5. Now, I don't really care about the tops or the model. I care about the 1095 blade steel. Recently, and you'll know who you are, somebody told me in the comment section that 1095, it was a myth that 1095 was a tough steel. In fact, 1095 is one of the weakest steels out there. It's very weak. I understood where he was going with it and understood what he was saying, talking about different things being added to it or taken away, things that it was missing, that makes the composition different. And 1095 was actually one of the weakest steels out there, and it was a huge myth that 1095 was tough at all. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that. Then I want to talk about, there's one knife company. Now, there's an exception to this rule, I'm sure, and somebody will tell me in the comment section. There's one knife company that across the board, when you talk about this knife company, it doesn't matter what blade steel that you're going to talk about them using. It doesn't matter what knife model it is. Across the board, for the most part, the community is in agreement. They do a good job. There's not a lot of flack about it. Now, I've heard one or two people here and there talk about them and, oh, they do a bad job and stuff. You're going to get that with anything. There's always going to be a voice here and there say something. But the majority, the vast majority of people, 98% of the people, agree across the board that this company and this brand, they do a great job no matter what blade steel they're using. And when is that? You guys should know exactly what brand I'm talking about, because everybody knows. All of those who know carry Spyderco. Spyderco. Doesn't matter what blade steel they are. They're pretty good. They're heat treated just right. If they're made in America, Golden, Colorado, they're fantastic. The heat treat is spot on. If they're made in Japan, heat treat is spot on. Taiwan, spot on. China, spot on. Wherever they're made, I don't know. But wherever they're made, spot on. They do a great job. I pretty much agree with that. I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to work my way backwards and tell you what I think about all of those opinions that I've heard, and I'm going to tell you things that I have studied and researched and found out that address those very things. Now, this is a new Tenacious. New in the box still. Like most of my, not most of my knives, but a lot of my knives. I just don't carry them a lot. I got too many knives to go cycle through. And this is one that I don't carry. Do you know why I don't carry this Tenacious? Because I carry this one all the time. This is a Tenacious. This is one that I've used so much that the pocket clip actually got stretched one day when it got caught on something and it yanked and bent the pocket clip, and I couldn't ever get it bent back to where it would actually stay with tension, so it just kept falling out of my pocket and stuff, so I just took the pocket clip off. But you can see that blade, how many times that blade has been sharpened. I mean, this thing has been sharpened a lot. I have used this thing again and again and again and again and again. And I've sharpened it over and over and over. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to tell you something I've realized about this. Now, this is 8CR. The Spyderco Tenacious makes their knives in their Tenacious in 8CR. And yes, while Spyderco is exceptional at their heat treat, and this is something going to make some people upset right now, what I'm about to say, but it's the truth, in my opinion, and in my experience. You might have had a different one, but we're only talking about my experience and opinion right now. And in my experience and opinion, do you know what is different about edge retention on an 8CR from Spyderco and an 8CR from any other knife that I have over there? Not one bit of difference. Is there a little bit better edge retention in this Spyderco 8CR? Maybe. Not enough for me to notice the difference. And I've sharpened it a lot. Sharpened other 8CRs over there a lot. And one thing across the board is they don't have very good edge retention. They have a lot of toughness, great corrosion resistance, but the edge retention is not very good. It's not supposed to be. It's 8CR, but it's easy to sharpen. And no matter how good the heat treat is on this and how exceptional they do with their steels, it's still 8CR. And 8CR, the composition of 8CR is built and designed to where it does not matter who you are as a company or how well you heat treat it, you can't magically make it have better edge retention. Can you improve it slight amounts here and there by adding something to it or taking something away? Yes. But are you going to make some drastic improvement that's going to make it no longer 8CR? It's called 8CR, but really it's 8CR on steroids. It doesn't happen. It's still 8CR. And when you sharpen it, you're still sharpening 8CR. When you use it, you're still using 8CR. When you're cutting cardboard or anything else, it's still going to dull like 8CR. No matter if it's Spyderco or not. Again, I'm not saying that they don't do a fantastic job with their heat treat. They do. Is it a little bit tougher than other 8CRs because of their heat treat? Maybe. Let's say it is. Let's say 100% it is. It's a little bit tougher than other 8CRs because of their heat treat process. But the edge retention is still the edge retention of 8CR. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because of this right here. We are creatures of habit, but we're also communal creatures. We are creatures that birds of a feather flock together. All right? I'll give you an example. I'm a Ford certified person. I can go into any Ford dealership in the country. I can walk in and say, hey, I'm Ford certified. They can pull me up, look on their database. They'll see my name. I was Ford certified. I went in, done all the tests, research. I learned everything. Boom. I can go get any job anywhere at a Ford dealership, anywhere in the country, because all Fords are the same. But I noticed this, and I never was a car salesman. I tried. It just wasn't my bag. I appreciate people that are. It just wasn't for me. I'm not a car salesman. I tried. Good money in it. It just wasn't my thing. But I noticed this. People that would come in to work for Ford, when you first started, you might be a person that grew up being a Chevy person or a Toyota person or whatever. But now you're working in a Ford dealership and you're hearing Ford all day long. You're hearing opinions about Ford all day long. You're hearing how great Ford is all day long. You're also hearing how bad other companies are, how Chevy is lacking in one area or another compared to the Ford in towing capabilities and, torque and this and that and everything else. Oh, these have aluminum beds for no rust, or this is whatever, and the four-wheel drive and assisted steering, all these different things, and you're going to hear it and hear it and hear it. And guess what? Lo and behold, 99.99% of the time, that person will almost quickly, without even noticing it, boom, all of a sudden, everything that comes out of their mouth is Ford, Ford, Ford. When you talk about Chevy, oh, Chevy's this, oh, Chevy's that, oh, this and this and this and this and this. Now, I'm not saying Ford is great. I don't care. It's a vehicle. I don't care what you drive. I don't care what I drive. If it gets me to point A, I never was that person that cared about it. It's like tennis shoes. I don't care about tennis shoes. Give me a piece of cheap a cheap pair of sneakers or an expensive pair. They're just shoes, LPCs, leather personnel carriers to me. I don't get caught up in that. Vehicles the same exact way. They have a steering wheel and 4 wheels. That's all that I care about, and an engine. But I know that some people are passionate about vehicles like that, Ford and Chevy and the different vehicles. But you will really quickly realize that people will start flowing with the river. They're like water. They choose the path of least resistance. And in the knife community, it works the same exact way. We're a community that's all about knives and EDC, and what do we do all day long? We read Reddit posts. We watch YouTube videos. We talk to other people. We get into Discord. We do this and do that, and we read the different studies about these knives, or we hear how this knife compares to this knife, and we hear the marketing program or stuff about this new knife that's coming out and how much better it is these other knives, and we're just bombarded with this all day long. And guess what happens? Like a bag of bricks, we pick those opinions up and we start carrying them like they're the gospel. Now all of a sudden there are opinions, there are views, and I'm going to give you an example. This is the Lion Steel T5. Now this is in M390, and I love this knife. I love this knife a lot. For whether you're using this for a camping and survival and bushcraft knife, or you're just using it just to be a beautiful, great knife, a big knife as a fixed blade, doesn't matter. It's just an awesome daggone knife. But this is in Lion Steel's M390. And just the other day, somebody in the comments, I think it was yesterday, was telling me that they really wanted to get a Lion Steel, but all the bad things that they had heard about Lion Steel and their M390, how bad it was, and it was chippy, and then it would snap and break, and you couldn't use it, and it was just not good and reliable, and the heat treat was really bad, and all that other stuff. And I told him, I said, listen, I love Lion Steel. I love the Mito, I love the T5, I love every other Lion Steel that I've ever seen. I think they do exceptional work. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The next time that you hear somebody talk about old Lion Steel, their knives, they chip, they snap, they break, their heat treat is terrible, different things like that. Ask them, when did your knife do that? When did your knife, that's terrible. Did you send it in and get it replaced? What was you doing? I mean, you wasn't doing anything that you wasn't supposed to be doing. Like everything that you was doing was what your like typical use, recommended use, right? Like you wasn't doing anything insane. Okay, so you was just doing this. Okay, and that happened? Well, you did send it in, right? Get it replaced. And almost every time, you know what you're going to hear? Oh, well, it didn't happen to me. I read it. Or no, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that about Lion Steel's M390. Everybody knows that. It's just, everybody knows. Oh, everybody knows, okay. So where's everybody getting this information? Oh, because we read it online. Like some people had Lion Steels and they would snap or break or whatever. Okay. Now I'm going to make it a point at the very end of this, and it's the best point of all. I'm going to save it for last, and if you want to fast forward to the very end and just skip all this, go ahead. I don't care. I promise you, at the very end, the point that I make, you're going to be like, oh, that one point right there makes perfect sense. I don't need to hear anything else. Not one other thing. Because it's so clear, cut, and dry, and it'll make complete sense to you. But here's the thing. I haven't heard anybody having any knives from Lion Steel snapping in half or breaking. I just haven't. I haven't heard of it. Has it happened before? Is there a exception to the rule? It could have happened? Possibly. Because there's always an exception to every rule. Now, when it comes to, oh, well, they treat their M390 really soft, well, let's move on and address 2 other knives, and I'm going to tell you what I found out when doing some research. People talking about the Chris Reeve Savenza Magna Cut and how he was testing it or running it really soft. It was just too soft. Magna Cut is ideal at this number, and he was running it at this number. It's too soft. Or, and how many of you know what I'm talking about right now? We've talked about it before. People telling me about Microtech. Oh, it's too soft. It's too soft. It's too soft. Well, guess what? I researched it. I looked into it. And Microtech addresses that very thing. They do run M390 that's softer than it's supposed to be. Do you know why? Because they don't want this to be a knife that is just for edge retention for cutting boxes. They want this to be a hard use beater knife. Whether you're law enforcement or military, it does have a tactical, aggressive feel and look to it. It does have a snappy action. You can use it for EDC, but it is for hard use EDC. Law enforcement, military, different things like that. Are you going to be chopping with it, snapping with it, stabbing with it? Not people or anything, but like doors or cans of paint or ammunition cans and stuff like that, ammo cans. What are you doing with it? Now, if you tested and ran M390 where it's ideal at, it's going to be too hard. And it would become brittle. And it would become snappy. Your tips would chip off and break. Or you could run that down a little bit, run it softer than what the ideal Rockwell chart is, and then, boom, you've got a knife that's going to be, here's the deal. M390 automatically or MagnaCut automatically, just the composition of what the blade steels are, is going to do the majority of the work. The composition gives it its toughness and edge retention. The heat treat has a big part to play in it, but the composition of the steel is just as important too. If you have a cheap composition of steel, it doesn't matter how well you heat treat it. HCR is never going to be able to do what M390 is, regardless of how well the heat treat is, because the composition of M390 is different. The composition of MagnaCut in M390 or 20CV or 154 or LMAX or any of these other blade steels, the composition alone is going to do a lot of the work for you. You're automatically going to get good edge retention and toughness because of the way that it's made. Then the heat treat on top of that, different things are going to do the rest. Now these people that you're reading online that are testing MagnaCut, when they test it, and ideal MagnaCut, ideal Rockwell is 64. I mean, you can get up to 65, but ideal MagnaCut or Rockwell for MagnaCut is 64. And this is only testing right here at 62 to 63. It is, they're leaving production on the table. They're not getting the mass or maximum results out of this. You can't get the maximum efficiency of MagnaCut at that lower number. You just can't do it. It's supposed to be harder than that. And he's running it too soft. You think Chris Reeves didn't know that? You think that he can't read a chart and know that the Rockwell chart ideally for this is supposed to be 64 to 65? But he doesn't run it that high? I wonder why. Because Sabenzas are not supposed to be S90V, which is just a high edge retention knife, good for slicing boxes, cutting and slashing, doing EDC for that types of stuff, breaking down boxes and cardboard and stuff. MagnaCut, his MagnaCut is designed to have excellent edge retention, but also to have a lot of toughness for hard use, so that the Sabenza can be used for hardcore heavy beater use EDC. And if it was testing and coming out heated to the maximum Rockwell chart, you are going to lose so much toughness. He will have Sabenzas everywhere, snapping tips, becoming chippy and brittle when people do try to use a Sabenza for what they're intended to be used for. You can no longer use a Sabenza for what it's used for because it has great edge retention, because it's so hard now, but it loses all the other characteristics that he wants it to have. So when it is testing lower than the ideal number, it is not a mistake. These people that keep saying, "Oh, what's testing so low?" I mean, they're leaving production on the table. They're losing so much efficiency out of that blade steel because, I mean, it's supposed to be this, but they're only doing this. This company that does this for a living. They make knives every day. They know everything that there is to know about the blade steel. So if they're testing it and running it at a lower number, there's probably a reason why. It's not because they're not good at what they're doing. It's not because it's a mistake. Maybe they do make a mistake on one or two here and there and quality control misses it. But you think they're doing it on every knife that comes out? They're making a mistake on every single one? People are doing that. They're watching these people that are, here's the thing. If I watch somebody that's testing this, oh, he's going to take the Sabenza and he's going to put the meter on there and he's going to test it. Oh, the Rockwell is this. Oh, well, guys, the Rockwell on this Sabenza is 62 to 63. I don't know what to tell you. Magnacut's supposed to be 64 to 65. He's not considering anything else. He's not considering why it's lower. He's not considering if it's intended to be lower. He's not considering what will happen if it is that high number, or what it will gain if it is a lower number. They're not considering any of that. All they're telling you is, we're testing it, guys, and it's testing low. And then the next thing you know, people see that, and they don't put any thought behind it, and then they just run off with it. Oh, it's testing low. That's testing soft. It's not supposed to be. I'm not using Microtex in M390. It tests too soft. Again, it's supposed to be that way. They literally talk about it. It's supposed to be a lower number so that you do still get the composition of M390, but they run it back a little bit so that you get more toughness out of it, so that you can beat the tar out of it and it won't snap in half and break on you. It is designed that way. Now, does that mean that you will lose a little bit of edge retention? Absolutely. Again, it's not by accident, though. It's designed that way. So when you realize that M390 on Microtech is not having the same edge retention on an M390 on a pocket knife that's from another company or a brand, and you're like, oh, see, that M390 has better edge retention. So see what I mean? Microtech's M390 is just not good. They're testing it too soft. Well, maybe, just go with me here for a second, maybe the knife that other M390 is on isn't designed to be a beater hard use knife. Maybe it is intentionally designed at that higher Rockwell chart to give it the better edge retention, because they're not considering the fact that it needs more toughness. So they're not running it back. Does that make sense at all? Am I just rambling? Because I probably am. Buck. That's made overseas. So that treatment process is garbage. Only if they're made in America is the heat treat done right. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Buck is just calling factories at random and saying, hey, can you make knives? Oh, you can? All right. Well, just make a whole bunch, slap them together and send them to us, and we'll just put Buck name on it. They literally send people over there. They set up the process. They send the schematics and the structures and the quality control and everything else, and they tell them how they want them made. They oversee the process. They make sure it's up to par. Again, quality control. These are made over there. Other knives are made in China. Just because something is made in China does not mean that it's garbage. Now, this isn't a political statement about China versus America. It's not that. I'm not doing that. I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying, just because it's not made in America does not mean the heat treat is, they still are going to, it's still Buck. It's still the Buck company. They still are having them made the way that they want them made. They're still overseeing the process and making sure that certain steps are still met. They're still doing it the certain way. All right? All kinds of companies are making stuff in China. Spyderco is making them in Taiwan, different things like that. The same factories are making them all. And I'll promise you this. The average guy who is not a knife enthusiast, who bought this at Walmart or wherever else, and he don't know anything about corrosion resistance, he don't know anything about a Rockwell chart, what are you talking about? S90V, what the heck are you talking about? It's just a knife, it's metal. What are you talking about? What type of metal is it? It's just metal. So they sharpen metal and it's a blade. I don't know what to tell you. That guy, he doesn't care where it's made. He doesn't care about the heat treat process. He doesn't notice the difference. It works just fine for him. He pulls it out, he uses it, he sharpens it. That's it. Now, you and I know more about it, so you and I might notice a little bit of difference in it, but the average person doesn't. The average person can take one of these knives made in China or a buck knife made in America, and they're not going to notice one bit of difference. As a matter of fact, if you don't tell them, if you just hand them the knives and say, here you go, which one's made in China, which one's made in America, and they're not knife people, they're going to be like, I don't know, how am I supposed to know that? Probably because they say on it somewhere made in China or made in America. But outside of that, let's say that they didn't. They wouldn't know the difference. And if they used them every day, they wouldn't notice the difference. Heat treat is a big thing. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying there's process to this. They do it a certain way. There's quality control. And I doubt Buck is going to have a whole bunch of knives made over there that are so garbage compared to what they're making, and they're going to stand by that and keep ordering from them. They're not going to do that. They're just not. It is what it is. Now, this whole China knives and, I don't want to buy any knives out of China, they're garbage. When I hear people say that, you know what I want to say? Well, I hope you don't have a TV in your house. I hope you don't drive an automobile. I hope you don't eat anything that's made out of soybean. I hope that you don't wear any clothes. I hope that you don't have a phone in your pocket. I hope that you don't have an Xbox. I hope that you don't have anything. Oh, or is knives the only thing that you care about being made in China? Everything else made in China is okay for you. But knives is the hill you're going to stand on. Oh, if it's a knife made in China, I don't want no part of it. It's a knife made in China. I'm only buying American-made knives. Now, I'm all about supporting American-made knives and American-made companies. Anybody knows me knows that. I'm America first 100%, and I'm proud of it, and I don't make no bones about it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to throw shade on other countries or other companies or people from other countries or factories or products from other countries. I have pride in America, but that doesn't mean I have to hate on something because it's not American. And I understand if people are that way for one reason or another. I'm just saying, sometimes we should really be careful about hills that we want to choose to die on. Because, I refuse to use that knife because it's made in China. And then I asked to see their phone, their shoes, and everything else, and it's all made in China. You know that they make belts in America, right? You know they make shoes in America, right? I just think that's a foolish argument. I understand the point of it and stuff like that, but I really do. American-made stuff is the best. And buy American-made if you can. But if you can't and don't have the option, don't hate on something or not buy a knife just because it's made in China. If you want to be that way, I understand. Support American industry and companies and stuff like that. Only bravo, I appreciate it. As long as you're doing it for the right reasons. As long as you're not doing it from some ideological opinion of, if it's made in China, it's just garbage. Because they still have quality control. And the last thing I'm going to say is this. And about 1095 being weak. Here's the deal. I understand what he was meaning about 1095 being weak because it has this, and this. Yeah, if you compare 1095 to MagnaCut or Elmax or Crew Carta or Crew Wear or anything like that, which is basically just, I said Crew Carta. Crew Wear. I mean, we can call it weak. But you don't compare apples to oranges. There's a reason why 90% of the bushcraft and camping companies out there that make camping knives make them out of 1095. 1095 is not weak. Now, it might be weak compared to something. I was telling somebody about this Sativian. If you say this Sativian is a garbage knife, well, yeah. If you compare it to like a $200 knife, absolutely it is. No question. But if you compare it against what it is, a $40 knife from Sativian that's made for budget purposes with budget materials and budget steels and in a budget process to come in at a budget price, when you compare it against that model and standard, then it's exceptional. It over delivers. It's out of this world. If you compare it against something that it's not, then yes, it's a garbage knife. But if you compare it against what it's actually supposed to be and what it is, people look at things and they compare them to other things and they put them into unfair comparisons. You cannot compare this to a more expensive knife and then call this knife garbage. That's not fair. When you look at this knife for what it is, it's a fantastic knife. When you look at 1095 for what it is, it's a very durable knife. It's very tough. You cannot compare it to Crewware or MagnaCut or anything else because it's not the same thing. It's more affordable. And as far as the whole, that's why the blade stock is always so thick. This Tops Baja is not a thick blade stock. And I'm telling you right now, this is a very popular camping and bushcraft knife. And I guarantee you right now, I could take this out and beat the tar out of it and it ain't gonna snap on me in half. Right here, another 1095, the Strauss thin blade stock, 1095. I got all kinds of 1095s back here. Essie makes thin stocks, and they still overperform. They do the job. 1095. Again, I understand where he's going with that. I do understand what you're saying. It lacks certain things, but when I'm getting a 1095 knife, I'm not comparing it to Crewware. That's just not a fair. I'm paying 1095 prices, so I'm getting 1095. But there's a reason. I literally put right after that comment was made, I put 1095 in other blade steels. If you all remember, into a survival or daily night challenge, and I was like, hey, I want to gauge the temperature on everybody. And 1095 was against all these other blade steels, and 1095 smoked all of them. And I'm talking MagnaCut, M390, S35VN, and it smoked them all. 1095 did, because the community across the board have all used 1095, and we all know firsthand that 1095 is going to be reliable and sturdy and tough. 1095 is a lot of things, but it is not a myth that 1095 is tough, in my opinion, and it's definitely not weak. Now, is it weak compared to Crewware? That is a more accurate statement. But just on its own, it's not weak. We got to compare apples to oranges, or apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And this is going to be my last statement. These companies do this for a living. Lion Steel, Chris Reeves, Microtech, Tops, on and on and on. They do this for a living. This is their whole living. Their company's reputation depends on it. They know more about blade steel than any of us ever could. They literally spend millions of dollars researching, perfecting heat treats, putting out knives. Not every knife they make makes it to market, on and on and on and on and on. If any of these companies, any of them, let's say Lion Steel makes it out of M390. You think Lion Steel, being an expensive brand like they are, with the reputation and historical heritage that they have, they was going to have knives out there snapping, chipping, breaking because they're using M390? They're not really going to quickly realize, oh, M390 is not good, we need to stop using M390. They would move on, but they're not. They're still using M390. Is that because they don't care about their reputation? Is that because they don't care about making money? Or is it because that is just something that's perpetuated out there in Reddit and different videos and different things like that, in unfair analogies and stories that across the board doesn't happen to the average person? The average person watching this video has never had an M390 blade snap on them, regardless of what brand it's from, especially if it's from somebody like Lion Steel or Microtech. We haven't. The average person does not notice a difference in the M390 from Microtech or any other M390. They just don't. Unless you're that person that's researching on a microscopic level that actually has the meters where you test the hardness and stuff like that. But remember, when you test the hardness, you need to take into consideration why that hardness is not where you expect it to be. And realize they're a big name company selling their knives for hundreds of dollars each, and they're just that inefficient at what they do to where they're going to mess up that big and miss the Rockwell chart that massively and not know it. And if they did find out and it was a mistake, they wouldn't fix it. Well, if they don't fix it and they do know it, then maybe it's supposed to be that way. I'm just saying. Maybe it's supposed to be that way. Now, I'm not saying that that's the right way. I'm not saying that that's the most optimal way or the best way. I'm just saying maybe it's supposed to be that way. We as a community pick up bags every day of other people's opinions and we carry them around like they're the gospel truth. And that is what we spread as our knowledge and information. I don't know Jack. I don't. I'm a nobody. In fact, I've never met Jack. If I met Jack, I wouldn't know him from Adam. And I know Adam even less than I know Jack. I don't know Jack or Adam. And Adam and Jack both know more than me. I'm just saying. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. But we got to be real careful that I bet you none of us have had line steel knives snapping on us and breaking in half. But a lot of people will go around perpetuating that whole line steel is garbage. They're garbage heat treats. They snap and they break and they're chippy. Where's that coming from? A video, a blog, a Reddit? Where's that coming from? You know, I'm just saying. It is what it is. So, hope that makes sense, guys. Hope that makes sense. We should all communicate. We should all talk. We all should spread knowledge. We all should. We learn it and we spread it. That way we can get feedback. But when it's feedback that is different than what we already know, we shouldn't automatically reject it or get angry about it. That's how we learn. We should be like, okay, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've seen so many people get sensitive when they hear something that's different than what they just said. It's almost like it's an attack on them. And it's not. It's a conversation. And if we're good enough to be friends, then friends can talk about things and have differences of opinions. And I want to learn from you. If I'm wrong and you don't tell me that I'm wrong and you don't share it with me, I'm going to be upset. Like, I thought we was friends. Why would you let me go around still believing that stuff? If you knew different and better, why would you not tell me? That's just my opinion. That's the way I look at it. So I love you guys. You're my friends. And that's just the way I look at it. And I also look at it from a marketing and salesperson's perspective. And as a company, I don't see or think any of them would be intentionally putting out bad blade steels that don't live up to the hype. So if they're not doing something you expect them to do, it's probably because they're doing it that way on purpose. So, all right, guys, that's neither here nor there. Hopefully you guys didn't get bored with my rant and you guys understand where I'm coming from. I love these knives. I love all knives. I love all brands. I love blade steels. I think we should give them all a chance. And until you've had one that's done it yourself, and if you have, tell me in the comments. I want to hear about it. I want to know if I'm wrong so that I can grow from it. But until we have, we should really be careful about saying certain things just because we've heard it or read it somewhere else from somebody else. All right. That's neither here nor there. I'm Chris, the Unprofessional Dad. I wish all you guys sharp knives and happy lives, and I will see you in the next one.